After 15 years on the road, even if your suspension looks fine on the surface, you can start to feel it. A bit of looseness in the steering, vague response, or subtle vibrations that weren't there before. That aging tie rod isn't just holding your wheels, it's holding your alignment, your steering feel, and your confidence. In this video, I will walk through the full process of replacing both the inner and outer tie rods on this 2010 Honda Odyssey. And once they are in, I'll show you how to dial in your alignment with precision right here in the garage, so you're not left guessing where your wheels are pointing. Let's get started. Today we're going to replace the inner and outer tie rods. For today's replacement, I have got the inner and outer tie rods from maXpeedingRods as part of a front suspension kit. And so we are going to test out these rods today to see how well they will work. Overall, the quality looks great. There are some issues though when it comes to the fitment of the accessories. I'm going to actually keep the boot for the inner tie rod and reuse it. The boots from maXpeedingRods are too small when it comes to the inner diameter, and it's not going to fit. So I'm going to provide this feedback back to them. Hopefully they will improve in their future production. So let's remove the outer tie rod first. Spray some penetrating oil. First remove the cutter pin, straighten it out, and then you should be able to hammer it from this side to push it out. You can cut it, but I prefer push it out. That's better. This is a 19 millimeter. Take it out. For now, I'm going to keep the nut here, and I need to push out the ball joint. I highly recommend this outer tie rod ball joint removal tool. It's a time saver. Okay. So just fit this in, and then with the nut still on, because that will keep this in place. So thread it until it's engaged here. When you turn this bolt, it's going to push the tie rod up to disengage it. This is also a 19 millimeter. So, copper-wise to engage it, and it's going to pop. Ooh. Voila! It's disconnected. And now we can remove easily this tie rod. It's a time saver. Otherwise, you may have to hammer it like crazy. This saved my day. And it's only $12 or so from Harbor Freight. So definitely get one of these. Before taking the nut off and remove the outer tie rod, loosen the inner tie rod from the outer. 24 millimeter. Yes, you definitely need some leverage. And I'm going to try to turn it from here to see if they can be separated. Yes, which is great. Before I disconnect the two, I want to measure the length of the inner tie rod together with the outer tie rod, so that when I put the replacement parts in, I can roughly make it about the same length, so that my alignment will be close. Even though it's not going to be the perfect alignment, I want to get to it as close as possible. First, I'm going to take off this boot so that we can measure the full length of the tie rod. There's a clamp here, only a one-time use clamp. There's a bump. Hopefully you can see. On the other side, simply use a pry bar and a hammer just to push it toward the inside. This cannot be reused anyway, so we are going to cut it. Looks like it's broken, which is great. Right, now we can take it out. This is the clamp. Now let's remove this clamp too, smaller clamp. Okay. For the boot, be careful because we need to reuse it. It's amazing, after 15 years, both boots on both sides are in one piece, which is amazing. Like, that speaks of the quality, Honda quality. Nothing can compare to the factory. No, it's loose. We can make it loose without breaking it. Measure roughly the full length of the tie rod. On the other side, it was about 16 inches. See what it says on this side. It's 41 centimeters. So a little bit over 16 inches. 16 and a quarter. So what I'm going to do is to connect the replacement inner and outer tie rods and make sure they're about 16 and a quarter inch or 410 millimeters. And that will give us a good starting point for alignment. Now, after this replacement, you must have an alignment done. And you can get a professional alignment, okay, to make sure your tire will not get destroyed because of misalignment. I also have a precision alignment that you can do in your garage, and I'm going to link to the video here. At the end of this video, I'm going to show you some quick steps to do it, but the full detail of that alignment video will be posted here. Now the boots are removed, and we have measured the total length. Let's remove the nut here, and remove the outer tie rod. Take this nut off. The factory nut here is actually still great, so I'm going to reuse it. So this can be removed, and then we're going to just simply turn the outer tie rod. Remove the clamp and the boot. Amazing, no crack. It's still pliable. This is 15 years. Can you believe it? And everything looks clean inside. This is very loose, but it's still very good. Now to remove the inner tie rod, there's a washer behind it and it's bent. So we need to unbend that washer before we can turn the tie rod to loosen it. Just a soft metal washer, so give it a couple of taps. Don't be too hard, and it should unbend. I think that should be enough. And then, of course, on the other side, which you cannot see down there, also tap it. Let's take a look from here. Theoretically, you can use adjustable open wrench like this and turn it, but the problem is that you probably don't have the clearance, right, to fit the tool in here. It's just impossible to work with such a big tool without any flexibility. Another tool that will give you a bit more flexibility is a pipe wrench. Yes, it does give you different angles to turn it. Still very extremely challenging, if not impossible. So you are going to fight with these big tools in here. Ultimately, you need this inner tie rod removal tool. And it's like a big pipe with various sizes of adapters. Like this one, which is 33.6 millimeters. Just fits the inner tie rod. And then you simply slide this tool in and then lock it in place, and from the other end you'll be able to turn this wrench, which will drive the inner tie rod to turn, either to loosen it or to tighten it. This will make things so much easier to remove and to install the tie rod. Yep. Looks like it's loose. Okay. Unlock and slide it out. Remove the adapter. And then we can turn it to remove it. Okay, let's compare the old tie rods to the new tie rods. They look about the same. Feels as heavy. Inner tie rod with the nut and the washer, 564 grams. The new, 608. So the new one is actually heavier. The old outer tie rod with the nut, 714. The new one with the castle nut, 752, which is great. Now we are going to install the new inner tie rod, and the washer will go in like this. You see the notch? So it doesn't spin. And then we're going to tap it to bend it on the other side to the inner tie rod so both sides will stay in place. Very important, when you put this in, make sure it goes straight when you started the thread. Otherwise, you may cross thread it. And now it's going in. If you're not sure if it goes in before it's tightened, just try to move from the back and looks like it's in the two notches. We're going to use the inner tie rod tool to tighten it to spec. This is 1 7/16. Turn the clamp here. Yep, to lock it. Now make sure it's fully engaged. Tighten it to 65 pound-feet of torque. Now I'm going to reuse this factory boot because the new boot, the diameter, this is too small. The original one, you can see, much bigger. The new clamp is also small. I'm not sure if the measurement specification is off, but this boot is probably designed for a different model year. So I'm going to, for now, just use a zip tie to secure it in place and then find a clamp later. Let's remove the nut. This is for the alignment. Put this in all the way. Yeah. Now slide the factory clamp on. Before we tighten it, I want to install the outer tie rod and measure the total length before we put everything back, so we know roughly where it should be before a full alignment. The outer tie rod, as you can see, is pre-greased and it comes with a grease fitting. I'm going to re-grease it at the next service, which is great. Okay, make sure it's straight before you start to thread it on. Okay, now let's measure the tie rod from the washer all the way to the fitting. And this is actually close. 410 millimeter, very close. So I'm going to call it for now before the alignment. The replacement nut is 22 millimeter instead of a 24. Yep, nut. Bend the washer before you tighten everything back. It doesn't require lots of force, but clearance is tight. Also the other side from the bottom. We'll reuse the factory clamp. Great. Now we can put the outer tie rod and connect the ball joint. I like the quality of the factory nut and I'm going to reuse it. $19 millimeter. 40 pound-feet of torque. Great. So I would take a picture of this to count the number of threads. Do it about even on both sides. Now the lower control arm and the bushings are still okay after 15 years, but as you can see, it starts to crack. So we are going to replace them in the next project. And don't forget the cutter pin. The fitting, 7mm at the base. Slightly tighten it. Don't push it too hard. Good. We're going to put the wheel back, lower the car, and do the alignment. Now make sure the steering is straight. Now shut it down. After tie rod replacement, time for alignment. I'm going to link to the video with all the details to have a very precise alignment with basic tools. But I'm going to show you this process very quickly. First, we need to establish a reference line, a line that is straight. And because on this vehicle, on this Honda Odyssey, the front tread width is actually narrow, shorter compared to the rear, so we need to take that into account. On each side, the front is about just a millimeter narrower going in on each side, so we need to take that into account. We need to keep adjusting until the difference between the front and the rear is about 1 millimeter. That is to account for the difference in the track width between the front and the rear. The front to rear difference is now about 1 millimeter, indicating a proper laser reference line. We are ready to measure the front toe. According to Honda specification, the front wheels should have approximately 1 millimeter of toe-in, meaning the front edge of each front wheel sits 1 millimeter closer to the vehicle center line than the rear edge relative to the laser line. To increase toe out, loosen the jam nut and then turn the inner tie rod clockwise. To increase toe in, turn it counterclockwise. Since the steering and tie rods are positioned behind the CV axle, this orientation applies. Otherwise, it's a complete opposite. On this Honda Odyssey, 1 full turn of the inner tie rod changes toe by approximately 6 millimeters. Use a marker to track the number of turns. Once adjusted, tighten the jam nut to snug or 30 pound-feet of torque. Measure again to confirm you have achieved the correct toe in. I have used this method multiple times with consistent results. Straight steering and even tire wear. Steering feels firm but not stiff. On this Odyssey after the replacement, the alignment feels spot on and I expect it to hold up well over time. And that wraps up the tie rod replacement and alignment right here in the garage. Stay tuned for part 2 on the suspension for lower control arm replacement. Hopefully this gives you the confidence not just to swap parts but to understand how things work together and how to bring your car back into precision with your own hands. If you found this helpful, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to Professor's Garage for more hands-on car care and repairs. Until next time, may the Lord bless you and give you peace. Stay dirty, stay safe. If Professor can do it, you can do it.